I'd like you to meet our very charming little drummer, Viola Smith.
Everything went very easily in my life, unless people call drumming work. Then I worked hard in my life.
When it comes to trailblazing drummers, few names stand out like Viola Smith. Back in the day, she was hailed as the fastest female drummer in the world, setting new standards and breaking barriers in an era when women were rarely seen behind a drum kit. Her undeniable talent, fiery personality, and innovative techniques not only helped her carve out a legendary career, but also paved the way for future drummers. She challenged stereotypes and captivated audiences across generations, making her a true legend in the drumming world. Join us as we dive into the genius of Viola Smith. Viola Schmitz, known professionally as Viola Smith, was born in 1912 in Mount Calvary, Wisconsin. Growing up in a large musical family, Viola was one of 10 children who all played instruments in the Schmitz sisters' family orchestra, led by their father. And Viola initially picked up the drums by chance.
There were 5 girls ahead of me in the family, and they had the rest of the instruments. And by the time there was a 6th one added to the family orchestra, my dad decided it should be a drum, which was great for me because what better instrument to play than the drums?
The family orchestra was the perfect stomping ground for Viola to hone her drumming skills. But she didn't get her first big professional break until she performed on the Major Beau's Amateur Hour, basically the 1930s version of America's Got Talent.
And we traveled with the Major Beau show, that gong show, and the winner of the Sunday program would join us.
With the help of the popularity gained by that broadcast, Viola was able to start an all-female orchestra called the Coquettes. Viola quickly became the highlight of these performances. The Coquettes were known for their energetic performances and tight arrangements, with Viola's dynamic drumming taking the lead. Their shows mixed musicality with theatrical flair, with Viola often taking center stage with her iconic drum breaks, like this one off the song Snake Charmer. Notice how Viola uses felt mallets here for a powerful sound on the toms, and she always keeps a quarter note pulse going on the kick drum with 2 and 4 on the hi-hats. Her transitions between the toms mounted on the kit and the 2 higher toms are also super clean. And for any of you out there who have tried playing on a kit set up like this, like a 1930s or 1940s kit, you'll notice that it's a challenge to move around because it's just so different from what we use today. Now, in this next section, she further showcases her dynamic drumming by orchestrating melodies using patterns around the kit while seamlessly incorporating the mounted Chinese tom-toms. Viola's musical approach is also on full display in this next clip where she tastefully navigates swing rhythms and accented cymbal and tom shots. Viola's dynamic drumming is also featured in the band's version of the swing tune Jitterbug Jump. Now, one thing that stood out early in Viola's career was her showmanship and ability to connect with the audience. Her innovative kit setups were unique even by today's standards.
Well, you see, when you have a drum up here and a drum out there, all you have to do is get up there and it looks like showmanship. So I had no problem with showmanship once I had the drums up there. If I was going to do this, nobody would see you talk about showmanship.
Viola's massive drum set is actually rumored to be an inspiration for Louis Bellson's use of double bass drums.
And Louis Bellson came to see me 3 times when I was playing.
Really?
Do you know why? I said, I just had to figure out how you set up all these drums. I had 13 drums. He got something out of it. He figured out the two bass drums. He liked that extra bass sound.
And as a fan of showmanship, Viola was also known for occasionally incorporating stick tricks.
Because I had a drum way up ahead of me, and I threw a stick on the drum so it would bounce straight up high. And I'd reach up and grab it, and when I grabbed it, I gave it the bass drum, big thump, with the bottom of the bass drum. It was amazing how much applause I got for that little trick. Yeah.
After her time with the Coquettes came to an end in the early 1940s, Viola moved to New York City, which was quickly changing due to the country's involvement in World War II.
Streets were full of sailors and servicemen. And 52nd Street was Swing Street, where these big bands had lost their musicians.
At this point, Viola had already gained national fame, appearing on the cover of the Billboard in 1940. Around this time, she was also connected to Billy Gladstone, who was considered one of the best drummers of the era.
He saw me play someplace in New York, and he said, "Come over to Radio City Music Hall. I want to show you something." And it turned out that he became my teacher.
Viola joined Phil Spitalny's famous all-female orchestra, Hour of Charm, in 1942. You can see her playing Voices of Spring on The Ed Sullivan Show in the early 1950s. At the time, it was quite rare for individual artists to have a separate billing, but Viola's drumming drew in the crowds, and she would headline under the name Viola and her 17 drums. This stint would be a springboard for Viola's career as the orchestra began to be contracted for film projects.
I got to Phil Spitalny Orchestra, and a month later, we were in Hollywood making a picture. We made 2 Hollywood pictures.
Boy, if you know the score, hoy, what you wait.
Viola was also a percussionist for the National Symphony Orchestra in the late 1940s. Around this time, Viola got a lot of attention from the press, earning one glowing review after another for her legendary stage presence and career. The Hollywood Radio Daily wrote, "We could just let down our hair and really do some raving. Such a mood hit us the other night. Perhaps it was the savage beat of Viola Smith's drumming." Variety magazine was equally impressed, writing, "Viola Smith does a Krupa-esque smash solo at the traps, including an electric bit with radium-painted drumsticks." But this review from Los Angeles Daily News really sums up how innovative her drumming was. You should hear her play her own drum concerto, a sensational exhibition of stick work that leaves audiences gasping. During the 1960s, Viola joined the Kit Kat Band in the original Broadway production of Cabaret, which would go on to win a Tony Award for Best Musical in 1967. Viola's energetic drumming was central to the band, and her solos continued to captivate audiences. Like this drum break at the top of the track, I've Got a Secret. This project was one of Viola's favorites, in large part due to the star-studded audience.
Well, every night we saw stars, every night. Everybody from Hollywood eventually saw the show, so we were told.
Her professional work slowed down after the 60s, but her career was well ahead of her time, and she was arguably the first full-time professional female drummer overcoming stereotypes and norms throughout her career.
It's just, I'm really very thankful that I am accepted as a drummer, a girl drummer. You know, the one time there was no such thing.
During the swing era, the drums were primarily seen as an instrument that only men could play, but Viola helped change this perception, and her impact on the drum scene can be felt to this day. In 1942, she famously wrote an article for Downbeat magazine titled, "Give Girl Musicians a Break." This article was a bold move as it openly challenged the status quo and called for gender equality in the music industry.
The girl bands didn't really come into their own until all the boys were going off to overseas. And then, of course, there were so many openings. You know, any girl musician who wanted a job could have one. So that's about the time I wrote this article.
In the article, Viola wrote, "Why not let the girls play in the big-name bands? In these times of national emergency, many of the star instrumentalists of the big-name bands are being drafted. Instead of replacing them with what may be mediocre talent, why not let some of the great girl musicians of the country take their places? Now is the time for all girl musicians to seek to be recognized. All the prominent band leaders are worrying themselves sick as sideman after sideman is called into the army, with no replacements for them in sight. And yet, I think they are overlooking a very fertile field in the girl musicians that are available." In many ways, Viola's efforts to promote gender equality in the music industry were well ahead of the women's liberation movement of the late 60s and 70s. Her contributions to drumming were formally recognized when she was inducted into the Percussive Arts Society Hall of Fame in 2023.
This induction is a very important piece of keeping us all educated and understanding the shoulders upon which we stand. Thanks to Viola Smith for paving the way, and to Percussive Arts Society for recognizing her enormous talent and contribution to the art of drumming.
One thing that always stood out about Viola is her spirit and energy. She would take every opportunity to say how lucky she's been throughout her life.
One thing always led to another. It was all very easy, the transitions. There were no big deal that I had to worry about ever. I really had a charmed life. Can't believe it. Unless people call drumming work. Then I worked hard in my life.
Viola inspired a new generation of female drummers. Artists such as Sheila E. and Cindy Blackman Santana have cited Viola as a significant influence on their careers. Her story is a reminder that talent and determination can overcome even the most challenging obstacles. Her unique style and approach continues to inspire drummers around the world, and in recent years we've even named a Drumeo Award category after her. Viola's legacy is clear when you consider the increased presence of female musicians in the industry today. She also set a new standard for drummers with her innovative techniques and unique career trajectory. There's so much that we can learn from Viola still to this day. Alright, there you have it, the genius of Viola Smith. From her humble beginnings in Wisconsin to her groundbreaking career and lasting legacy, Viola's journey is a testament to her talent, perseverance, and passion for drums. Now, before you go, make sure you leave a comment below and let me know one thing that you've learned from listening to Viola Smith. And stay tuned for the next episode in the Genius Of series, which is on Carlton Barrett, drummer for Bob Marley and the Wailers. Lastly, if you're a fan of the music that we covered in this video and you want to dive deeper into jazz and how to play it on the drums, we have tons of courses inside of Drumeo from Ulysses Owens Jr. and a lot of other instructors that will teach you all the basics of everything you need to know. There's a link down below, drumeo.com/trial, and you can try Drumeo free for 7 days. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.